Now, as I said at the top of the show, we're going to talk about work-based learning. And up first, we're going to talk about some efforts going on right here in North Carolina to better link education, educators, and business. And joining us, we have two great guests. We have Albert Eckel. Albert is here as the board chairman of the North Carolina Business Committee for Education. If you don't know NCBCE, they're a nonprofit, but they're housed in the governor's office, and their mission, through Republicans and Democrat administrations, have been to better link business and education. So Albert, thanks for being here. Next to Albert is Tracy Bell. Tracy is a media specialist at Glenwood Elementary in Chapel Hill Carborough Schools. Yes. But she is also part of something called the North Carolina Teacher Voice Network. She's a fellow with that group, which is an organization we've had on the show before to talk about that gives voice to teachers. So thank you for being here. Albert, I want to start with you. Two initiatives that NCBCE has launched, and I think you've been personally very involved with it and the organization, is called Teachers at Work and Students at Work. Tracy's going to talk in a minute about her experience through Teachers at Work. But I guess tell me a little bit, what are these two initiatives of NCBCE?
Sure, and good morning. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
Students at Work is pretty simple. Students at Work has started about 10 years ago. First gentleman, Bob Eves, Governor Perdue's husband, actually helped spearhead that. And it really started over a conversation that the two of us had with one another, where he was talking about an initiative he had in Craven County. Students at Work is focused on middle school students. Statistics show that middle school is really when we're losing students. We like to look at it from the standpoint of that's really when we're gaining students. Students at Work is really focused on engaging the business community as well as with students, allowing students to understand what's happening within their communities, and allowing the businesses within those communities to come in and actually educate students on what it is that's out there. That provides a couple of things. One, it provides an opportunity to understand what businesses and what skills are within a community. And it really helps students understand what are the skills that they're going to need to create a pathway towards something within their community to where they can have a job.
So is and Tracy's going to talk about her experience, but I'm guessing then Teachers at Work, sort of a very similar concept, but these are the ones that you want them to help impart what's going on in the work.
Right. I mean, you can't just address one leg of the stool, right? So clearly, Students at Work is focused on teachers. Teachers at Work is focused on teachers, rather. Right. Pardon me. Actually, just last week, I had a teacher in my small business actually shadow myself and others. It really helps teachers understand what are the businesses that are out there, and more importantly, what are the skills that are needed within those businesses so they can actually help implement those within their own classroom. Right.
Well, Tracy, you and I talked. You had a great experience. I think we're gonna pull some pictures up on the screen of your time at Lenovo, which has, of course, a huge operation here in the Research Triangle Park. Tell me about your experience with Teachers at Work and what you did at Lenovo.
Well, it was extremely impactful. I knew that Lenovo offered computers, but I didn't know the K-12 solution that they had for students, for teachers, to help them to transform their digital innovative experiences. So it was a powerful experience for me.
And I mean, as an educator, I mean, you're a media specialist, so you're obviously working with students every day. I mean, you want to help them get prepared, right? And so, I mean, and look, I mean, we're in the education business world. I mean, it is two different worlds in many ways, right? So this was, I guess, a valuable bridge for you.
Yes, this is part of what we do as media specialists. We try to make sure that students have the information literacy skills that they need to actually become viable parts of the working community. So we want to make sure that they have those team building experiences, those partnership experiences that are needed, those activities that will have them to start thinking critically and to problem solve. These skills are all part of 21st century learning and what is needed in the workforce.
Right. So it sounds like to me, Tracy's probably sort of singing what you want to hear, right? I mean, that's really the whole goal of these initiatives.
It really is. And I talked about this last week at a North Carolina Chamber conference. A lot of this is about soft skills. Soft skills are something that a lot of us actually kind of miss. We all focus on the technical skills, and we want to make sure that we continue to implement those and teach those. But a lot of what students at work and teachers at work are really promoting and helping to create understanding around is the importance of soft skills. Showing up on time. How do you work within a group? How do you work within a team? How do you be a leader? How do you actually take data, reflect that back, and be able to tell a story around that data so you can actually help, either influence or persuade someone as it relates to what it is, your idea that you're trying to perpetuate. It's something that a lot of students aren't really taught in the classrooms, and it's of no fault than anyone. In our opinion, the business community actually needs to step up and actually be part of this solution and be part of this discussion, and that's quite frankly what NCBCE is trying to do and try to lead that discussion.
Well, that's a great point about the soft, Trace, because I mean, what you were just, when you mentioned it, you were talking about critical thinking skills and different things. You didn't mention like, oh, well, I saw the latest technology they're using here, and I want to make sure my students know that. I mean, that latest technology, by the time your elementary school students get to the workplace, it's not going to be there, right?
But it does provide a context of knowledge for students to be able to
I love that context of knowledge.
To give them an opportunity to see where they fit in, how that curriculum can link to those soft skills that you're speaking of and those workforce skills that you're speaking of. The North Carolina Standard Course of Study says that what we're trying to do is prepare students to be career and college ready. So we have to begin to, as educators, what National Board Certification says at the core is that we are committed to those students and their learning, and then we are part of learning communities, not just our school, but we're thinking broad. And so we're thinking about going into those businesses and having those businesses come to us to make sure that our students have enriching experiences, that there's liberation for all students.
Right. Just so we're about to wrap up, but Albert, I've got a graphic I wanted to pull up because I think it sort of just quickly goes over sort of the different levels of what kind of engagement we're looking at.
Yeah, so from the business standpoint, we'll look at it in sort of a three-step continuum: career awareness, career exploration, and career experience. Obviously, for awareness, it's where you see your career fairs, you have guest speakers come in. We think it starts very young. We think that's very important to begin to actually create that awareness and that opportunity of what's out there for those students. Career exploration, we think about mentoring. I think students at work really helps fall into this program as well. We think about science fairs, et cetera. Then in career experience, I think we're all aware of internships and apprenticeships. That's where a student and a teacher, quite frankly, are really engaging directly within a business, and they have really the opportunity to actually get those soft skills, get those technical skills that everyone actually, quite frankly, needs as we move into the next century.
Terrific. Well, this sounds like great programs. I'm glad that you had that opportunity, and it sounds like we need to get more businesses involved and more students and teachers involved. So look, thank you both for being here with us today.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
When we come back, we're going to continue our discussion with a closer look at North Carolina community colleges and the role that they play in work-based learning. But before we go to break, see if you can answer this question. In 1973, 28% of jobs in the U.S. required some post-secondary education and training. What is that percentage forecast to be in just 2 years, 2020?
Education Matters is brought to you each week in part by Paragon Bank, serving others, enriching lives.